All right, ladies, we are live, and everybody out there watching, welcome to the ladies' room. Come chat with us in the ladies' room. You all, I am one of your co-hosts, Ashley Michelle. And ladies, go ahead. You all can introduce yourselves.
Okay, I'll go ahead. I am
Hello,
Cannon.
hello. This is Jovo.
Okay,
Kenny.
go ahead, Jovo. Oh, you're done. Okay, Jovo in the house with her Nubian head scarf on. I love it.
How
All
y'all
right.
doing?
All
You
right.
have a little bit of a delay over there, I think.
Yeah.
I do. It's been crazy all day. All day.
All right. And our girl Cannon in the house.
Hey, everybody.
All right. I am so excited about today's show. We're going to just go ahead and jump right in. All right. Oh, Jesus Lord.
Bloopers. It's the blooper reel.
Right? Blooper. All right. All right. So let's go ahead and jump right into our first show. All right. So for those of you all who um, don't know, there was a bit of a, I guess you can say, a trend or a challenge going around social media where people were sharing red flags. So we're familiar with a red flag, right? So a red flag meaning anything that tells you to pump the brakes or stop when you are in a relationship or entering a relationship with somebody or just start to date them. And there are tons of them, right? People really got on the bandwagon and started doing it. They started, just posting things that they probably experienced before that gave them a red flag. Okay. And people were loving it. I mean, I swear I saw it just loading my news feed for like a couple days, right? So I'm like, what in the world are they doing? But then shortly after that, I started to see that people were doing a challenge for green flags. And so I just wanted to talk about that. I thought that was very interesting. I like that it's more of a positive take. We have to be aware of red flags, right? And respond to them the appropriate way, usually by walking away, right? Usually. But I think that it's good to recognize some green flags, some things in a relationship or a new, courtship that tell you, oh, okay, so he's the one or she's the one or this could work. So we're going to talk about some green flags. So
Okay. I guess I'm going first. I really wanted to give this a lot of thought because I feel like we have like all of these tricks and tips and things that we try to feel like is gonna make us have like the perfect partnership, like all of these things that we think are gonna help us identify the perfect mate. But what I found is that it actually is not as important as it's not who you're with is not as important as the dynamics that you guys actually have together, right? And those dynamics are going to fall under your perceived partner commitment, right? So that's how much you perceive that your partner is committed, because you're only going to do as much work as like if you think the other person is not committed, then why would you even take time or energy or effort to really put your all into a relationship, right? So that requires trust. That means that you need to believe that that person is actually committed to the relationship, right? Then the next one is appreciation, right? And how much you show appreciation. We talking about two separate people. So you're not going to be as outwardly focused to say how much appreciation this person showing me, right? You're going to be super hyper focused on how much appreciation you show. And that's where things like understanding your partner's love languages and things like that comes into play, because the way that they receive or give appreciation may not be the same way that you give or receive it, but you still need to be able to be committed to showing that appreciation. That's going to determine whether or not you're going to have a good relationship. Sexual satisfaction is very important. You know, and when it comes down to that, it's more so quality over quantity. So it's not about, making sure you have it going on a certain amount of times or whatever. It's really going to be up to that individual. Like I say, again, dynamics, like how you guys are working well together and making sure that you're aware of what pleases the other person, right? Whether that is, the amount, and things like that. So just making sure that you're aware of that for your partner. Then it's going to be perceived partner satisfaction. So it's going to be how much you perceive that your partner is happy. And it's going to be you doing things. It's going to be as long as you have two people that want to ensure the other person is happy. And that doesn't mean like, oh, let me sacrifice all of my let me sacrifice my feelings for everything and just give everything to this person. But it more so just means that you want to have an unselfish attitude when it comes to the relationship. Like the more unselfish you are about it, the more likely that relationship is to last and be of value. And then the last one, which is everybody should know about, is how do you resolve conflict? Conflict resolution, right? If you're able to do it in a healthy way. That's when it becomes important to understand your attachment injury. Well, it's something called attachment theory. And that is the theory that we all have things that we have going on with us from growing up, and the way that we kind of like defense mechanisms. I'll put it that way. So when we have stressors, we have different things that trigger us, the way that we react and interact. And it's important for us to be aware of those things so that we can find a healthy way and have a healthy way to resolve conflict. And if you're doing those things, then you can really, it's a green flag, right? In that relationship, it's going to be good because both people are going to be working to making sure that they're doing those things. And as long as both people are doing those things, then the relationship will work. It's not as important as, oh, did they go to the gym 3 times a week? Or, oh, do they look like this? Like that's not as important as that other stuff is. So you really just got to stay away from toxic people, just be your healthiest self. And that's the best you do.
So I hear you're saying place less significance or less attention on the flags, but more so on the dynamic. Sometimes the flags can be misleading, right?
Yes.
And I know also women especially do this, where we'll see some good things that seem like green flags, but we move too fast. And it's like, well, just wait a second. There's a green flag, but it actually kind of just means keep going, but slowly and stay watchful, but some people jump ahead because they saw the green flags, but you're saying don't focus so much on that. Focus more so on the dynamics that you have with the person.
Yeah, focus on how you guys are interacting with each other, right? Because somebody could check off all those little boxes, right? But that don't mean that all those other things are good. And if those other things aren't good, it doesn't matter how many boxes they check. It's not going to work.
So I have a question though. So what about people who really haven't developed much of a dynamic because they just met each other? So what would you say they should be looking for?
I mean, it's still, the thing is, even in the earliest stages, I mean, of course, like the sexual satisfaction and all that part, you may want to, hold off on that with somebody you just met. But simple things like the way that you guys communicate with each other, you know what I mean? The way, the different ways that you just see that person show, the way they interact with their family, like a lot of those different things, you can pay attention to that. And just take the time to get to know somebody. I would say in the beginning, make sure, as opposed to, like I said, trying to check off boxes and rush to anything, take some time to be able to decipher through those things when you meet somebody. I think things like that show up pretty early a lot of times.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Cannon Hill. Mrs. Cannon Hill. Every time I say that, I think of Lauren Hill. It has a ring. Your name has a ring to it. All right. So, and yours does too, Mrs. Jovo. So what do you think? What are some green flags? How would you answer this question? Uh-oh, we can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Here we go. Here we go. Hello, hello. So for me, when I think about green flags, I think about, does this person live through accidental growth or do they live intentionally? Like, and I like what you all were saying about in the beginning, because we live in this time of social media. We live in this time of, there's a lot of pressure on people to either settle down or to be with a certain type of person, a combination of
Mm-hmm.
both. And I think we look more so at the externals and not enough at the internals. And I think when we talk about internals, we got to look at, how does this person grow? Are they constantly learning and growing by making all of this mess and growing accidentally? Or are there things that they do intentionally?
Mm-hmm.
Right down to, even if it's a single mom or a single dad dating each other, or a woman dating a single dad, is he intentional with visitation with his child?
Mm-hmm.
Does he have structure where he's able to visit with his children? Same thing for a single mom. Is she intentional with how she's raising the kids, or does it seem like things are just going along accidentally? Something, a catastrophe has to happen, or a mistake has to happen for them to learn 99% of the time. I think that's important. And you can look at that through just small things that they do. Even if it's down to getting to the date on time, the first couple of dates you guys have, or the first 3 dates, are they constantly late? Do they look like they're just kind of squeezing you into their schedule? Or are they intentional about their time? That's important to me.
Mm-hmm.
I like what Candace said about conflict resolution across the board. You definitely have to have some conflict resolution skills, and within that, have some open mindedness. I think a lot of times when we talk about red green flags, I think red flags, we look at, again, what's on the surface. We look at, just what we see, the tip of a
Mm-hmm.
person. That's their behavior, and we don't look at, you know do they value the opinions of others? Do they show empathy? Are
Mm-hmm.
they open minded? When new ideas are introduced to them, how do they react to that? And you can
Mm-hmm.
do that with small things. Like, let's say you all are at a group outing and you all are talking about a topic, and they are just adamant that everybody else is wrong and they are right, and they're really aggressive in how they're expressing their opinion. Like, they're just not open to hearing anybody else. To me, you need to watch out for that. A green flag would be if they show some type of empathy, or show some type of open-mindedness that says they will consider what the other person is saying,
Mm-hmm.
or they're listening to certain parts, and they're not necessarily agreeing, but they're listening. They're active listening. They're not
Mm-hmm.
just closing what everybody else is saying off. So
Yeah.
I think those are things, just the empathy, open-mindedness, conflict resolution, but definitely if they're living with intention, because we got a lot of people, and I like what Candace said about the external stuff. You're looking at whether or not what they look like on the outside. You're looking at their bank account. You're looking at, and I know that we're going to get to this later on in some of our other topics. Can he afford me? Can she put up with me? But are they growing? Are they able to say, what, this is what I've accomplished, but these are some things that I'm also working on. I see this in myself, that these are some things that I need some work on. To me, that's a green flag if they're able to identify their shortcomings, but also highlight their accomplishments. No one wants to air out, their shortcomings or their character defects. But I think it's a green flag when someone can do that and say, I'm not perfect and this is what I'm working on. That way you got everything up front on what this person is and what they're dealing with.
Yes.
So those are green
I
flags. Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate that because a lot of times, I know for women especially, women tend to focus on the surface level things, like, oh, he's so kind.
Mhm.
He brought me flowers, and he
Mhm.
called
Mhm.
this morning, and then
Mhm.
again in the afternoon. Like, those are like real surface level things that really don't say much about the person. They don't really say much about how he feels about you. And those are things that can change, even if they are very well intended. Those are things that can change once you're in a relationship. And I imagine once you're in a marriage, certain things start to slack a little bit, so you don't want to go into a new relationship with somebody or a courtship with somebody where you're thinking that those things mean that you should continue to move forward. Like, you should appreciate them, right? And respond to them, but they definitely don't mean as much as I think a lot of women think they mean. So I appreciate that. So let me ask you all about the second part of this question. How to respond when you see them. How do you respond and how not to respond? And so I don't know if I should give you my reasoning for asking these two questions or if I should just let you all shoot. What do you want to do?
Give me the reason. I need some context.
Yeah, I want to hear the reason too.
So I thought about the question how to respond and how not to, because I think that some people have been so used to looking for the red flags and they've been so hurt by the people in their lives that maybe they shouldn't have been dating, that when they see the green flags, they get nervous or scared. They think it's too good to be true. They start to push away and they're not open. So how do you think people should respond once they see some green flags, and how should they not respond? You want to
take it? You take it first.
I'll take that one first, Candy. I'm gonna go with how to respond when you see these green flags. I think, and I'm speaking from the perspective of women, and I want my sisters out there to know that this comes from a loving place. We need to learn how to take people in doses and manage our expectations. Okay, you see that one green flag, celebrate that. Okay, celebrate that, embrace it. Don't try to dissect it, don't overthink it, don't try to analyze it. And you're speaking to a fellow sister woman and someone who's also a therapist. So imagine in my mind when I was dating my husband, I had this mind of just analyzing and breaking things down. I had to learn how to stop overthinking. Do not overthink green flags. Take it for what it is. Okay. Look at it for what it is and then move on. Don't try to break it down. I'm a really, really big advocate of courtship and getting to know one another. And I think that in our community, African American community, we don't date enough. I think that we meet someone, we have an encounter, and then we take a couple of green flags and we turn it into this image of
Okay, I think. Can y'all hear me? Y'all can hear me? Okay. So I'm gonna piggyback off of what Miss Jovo was going into. It was getting real good too. It was getting real good. But I also like in the comments how Dr. K said, she said my red flag radar is so high I could barely see the green flag. I think that's funny, and I think that's goes back to kind of what I was saying about ensuring that you are right the things that you're looking for when it comes to that, as far as those qualities that I spoke of. And one of the things is that if you because I mean you can accrue damage right over time in different relationships, where it be romantic or friendships, family, whatever it is, right? You can get injury, and some intentional, some unintentional, emotionally. And I think that when you say your radar is up so high, or you're so used to these different things that you don't know how to approach the green flags, I think that that's a prime example for you to take a step back and understand that you have a lot more healing to do. Because until you get to that place, then you're operating, you already operating at a deficit. You're trying to come into this situation, and it could be, let's say that it could be that person, but then who are you? Like, you bringing your damage into the situation, right? Because you got all these hangups and all of these baggage, all this baggage that you haven't dealt with, that you're bringing into it. So I would say that the thing would be to realize that you have more work to do, and once you actually do that work and you do it properly, then you won't have to be as worried about those things, because you will have the tools necessary to engage in a healthy way, regardless to how the situation works out or how the relationship plays out. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you all so much. I actually want callers to chime in. So if you all have anything that you'd like to add on this topic, please call us. The number's on the screen. We love to hear from you. Go ahead and give us a call. But yeah, so we can go ahead and conclude. Hope maybe we'll get some calls in on that topic or not. I think it's pretty straightforward. I think that people understand that you have to be watchful. I think people know red flags, and I think they maybe have started to learn some green flags, hopefully. But what we'll have to talk about on another day is what to do with those flags. But I love the way that you guys have focused less on the individual flags, the individual green flags, but more on what the focus should be. The focus is deeper. It should be a little deeper than just the surface level things that we see. And once we see some green flags, make sure we're ready to move forward and be healed. I love that. Thank you, married ladies, giving us single women some advice. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next topic. If there is anyone who would like to join, please go ahead and give us a call on this topic. I did want to say, I should have said this earlier, but our girl Raven is not with us. But she has some things to take care of, and she's doing well. She's actually messaging us now, telling us that, just kind of giving us a shout out, saying y'all are giving all the Black girl magic. So
hey Raven. Hey Raven.
Already. All right. And those of you who are watching, stay tuned. We have some really good topics, and start to share this video. Tap that like button. If you do not see a or a share button, it's because you need to actually log in to YouTube. Okay, so log in. You might have to make an account. It's super easy, and you'll be able to like, you'll be able to share, you'll be able to comment. Okay, and we definitely want to hear from you all. So let's go ahead and move to our next topic. Okay, so this topic,
oh Lord,
be a little bit spicier. I just found this to be an interesting topic, and I'll explain why later. But Chloe Bailey, what they said she said versus what she really said, and I want to share that with you guys. So let me go ahead and put that on my screen. Give me a So basically, Chloe Bailey, one of the duos, Beyonce's protege, said, I guess apparently did an interview, And a lot of people, pretty much guys, not everybody, pretty much men interpreted her comments to mean something that she explained did not mean. Is very and basically, let me put this up. I'll show you. It'll make more sense once I put it up. So basically, so guys were spreading this rumor around basically that Chloe Bailey says that when she calls a guy, she doesn't like for them to answer. And so obviously that sounds ridiculous. It's childish. It's very silly. If you like somebody, you know, you will want them to answer, right? You don't want them to purposefully not answer. And a lot of guys heard this and were like, oh man, look at her. She is another Black woman, a toxic woman, another modern woman, toxic. Stay away from them. This is why we don't get married these days. So, you know, people were really just kind of dogging her about it. And so I'm actually happy that she addressed it. When I read it, I knew that that's not what she meant, right? And here's what she says. She says, I meant if someone is really on their grind, working hard on themselves, they won't always be available. That's true, right? Because I'm not. I'm not sure what OFC means. Do you all know? I'm so old. I'm getting old, y'all. What does OFC mean?
It might be, of course.
Oh, of course, I want you to answer my calls and respond and be under me. But it's also sexy to know someone is working towards something great and is busy too. And so when I, saw the original meme where there was an excerpt of what she supposedly said, I knew right off the bat what she meant. I'm like, that's so silly. She doesn't strike me as being like that. She's scantily clad, but that does not mean that she's necessarily a toxic, silly person either, you know? So I knew that the guys were just kind of having a field day with it and making it out to be something that is not. That's my opinion. What do you guys think about that?
Okay, I think first I need to give a disclaimer. All right, Beehive are here. Okay, so Beyonce's protege, don't come for Chloe. All right, she did not send for you. But side note, I just think it's, first of all, the whole thing is super silly. Like, this girl is 23 years old, for one thing. I don't know why we're hanging on every single word she say, every comment she make, every outfit she wear. I mean, I guess that's par for the course because she wants popularity. I mean, she wants fame. That's what she's doing. But I mean, I adult, especially grown adult people, really this serious. Like, she said this, and this has something to do with marriage. Like, that is very silly. But if we must engage with the throwaway comments, but as long as I can remember, I've always been told nobody wants to be overly available. Like, nobody wants somebody who available every single time, all the time, because that does mean you don't have anything else better to do. Like, you want to miss people sometimes. You want to, have something interesting to talk about when you come back together. So, yeah, I mean, if that's what she meant, which it seems like that's what the comment meant, that, don't just be around, just waiting by the phone for me, and picking up the phone every single time, like you don't have anything else better to do. Because like she said, I have other things to do. So don't expect me to be answering the phone every single time. And that does lead to intrigue and to be curious, to be like, oh, I wonder what they're doing today. And then when you do get to talk to each other, then you get to talk about how interesting your day was instead of smothering each other. So I thoroughly understood what she said. We some of us need to grow up and get it together and stop being so invested in making things bigger than what they even have to be. Like, we dissecting and going into depth about every little thing. Like, they wore red shoes. What is it? Like, every single little thing is supposed to mean something. Like, you can't marry them. Like, it's ridiculous. So Oh, you're on mute.
I think that's when people are looking for something. They're looking for something, to say, and they already kind of have a bias in their mind. So they hear something. but they hear it, but they're not really listening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they just kind of took it and ran with it. And I mean, it's pretty obvious what she meant, if you read the context of the interview. So I think that's just this ongoing effort to portray Black women, especially, as though we're just toxic and not
Mm-hmm.
marriageable and not level headed, when that's just not the case. What do you think, Jovo?
No. Well, she's 23 years old. She's at she's about to be at the top of her game. She's working with one of the biggest stars in showbiz right now. Um, she's not in a committed relationship. She does not have marriage on the brain, it appears, or kids on the brain or family. And even if she does, she has kind of compartmentalized that into, okay, I'll get to that. But right now I'm on my grind with acting and music and building a brand. And I kind of have to agree with Cannon a little bit, but I do have something contrary to say about this. That might might add a little bit of chili pepper to the spice of this conversation. Um, she's young, and I think sometimes we personalize these events, and I think the men personalize this as Chloe's a young African American woman, and I'm going to personalize that she's saying this to me, that she doesn't make time for me. Therefore, she's not accountable. Therefore, she's not marriage material. Therefore, here come the cancel culture people slowly approaching. Okay, she can't be a part of the good Black woman club. But the reality of it is, it's 2021, and Black women have options. I think I've said that in other podcasts that we've had. We have options now. Our only option is not to marry a man so we can gain access to things, bear children, and maintain a household. We have other options. But just because she has other options, rather, doesn't mean that she won't be thinking about family, kids, or what have you. She made a statement based upon what looks like an interview where she was asked about her dating life, what type of guy she wants to be, she would see herself with. And what she simply said was, I'm busy. I'll probably end up with someone that is just as busy as I am. And then when we come together, we're together. But when we're apart, we're still together. But I'm out here doing my thing. He's doing his, career wise, business wise, what have you. However, Miss Chloe, let me just say this. When that time comes for you, if that's the time that she's going to invest in to be with someone and commit to someone, she definitely going to have to communicate how she wants to communicate with this person. And that's important. That's one of the things that we bypass when we date people. We don't really take the time to ask them what is your communication style, because she could be someone who's okay with him just texting, good morning, babe, I'll see you later for dinner or whatever. Then you have someone who, can you pick up the phone and call me on your morning break? Or can you check on me throughout the day? And it's not a right or a wrong. It's just that we have different styles. So I would encourage her that if, and this is a big if she's going to be in the business of creating a family, being a wife one day, or being, having kids, that potential mate that she's looking at, they need to have that conversation about, communication styles. And let me just say this: 23 years old, and she's already saying that I'm really actually looking for someone who's not going to kind of smother me. I'm in a place where I'm expressing myself, as an artist. I'm a businesswoman. I'm building a brand. Let me just give her props for already knowing just a little bit of what she wants, because it's several different women in Hollywood, and you guys know them. They say one thing and they're promoting one thing with their art and with their music, but they're doing the opposite. And then they find that the art and the real life starts to conflict. And that might be because of, social media. That might be because of
Uh oh. They're missing. We can't hear you. Can't hear you.
like Cannon said, can y'all hear me now?
Okay, we hear you.
Am I back on? Okay. Like Cannon said, she's 23 years old, guys. 23. Okay. She's still growing up a little bit, you know, and she has other priorities right now. And I'm going to end with this. And I know some people will be, and then I'm going to shut up because I can go on and on about this. We need to normalize that people are not prioritizing relationships and family. And this is coming from someone who's been married for 17 years. It's 2021. That's not her priority. Her priority is working right now. And if she wants to say low key that I need a man who's prioritizing that too, then that's okay. That's perfectly fine.
And honestly, you know, I don't necessarily think that this means that she's not interested or available for a relationship or dating. She can make it work, you know. She can make it work, but she's saying, look, I want you to have some goals too. And what woman doesn't want that? And what man would want that for himself, you know? And the truth of the matter is that that's life. You know, we have multiple things to juggle, right? So you can juggle a relationship. It might be incredibly difficult being in her type of environment, right? But you can juggle a relationship and juggle career. Women do it every single day. Like,
girl,
So, you know, people try to act like, oh, if you choose career, that means you're not choosing marriage and family. And that's not true. Now, obviously, there are sacrifices, you know, and different levels of sacrifices or at different periods of your life. But you can be 23, working your butt off. You know, I think about Beyonce. You guys remember that song that she did? No, Jay-Z did. And he made mention of her putting her career before him.
Yeah.
You know? But because he's a logical, supportive man, I assume, he continued to date her. It's not, and I mean, they seem to have a close relationship. They were spending time together, but you know, I was my whole career.
But I was going to say the point. I was going to say the point that you brought up as far as having a career and a family and all of that stuff. That's why the partner you choose is going to be even more important. But to kind of piggyback off of what Ms. Jovo was saying too, I don't know why we're having such a hard time. I did not realize that this many people were this adverse to change. Because like she just stated, times have changed, situations have changed, environments have changed, and people are going to behave differently in different circumstances. So just like she stated, women, men, whatever, like they don't have to do the same things that they had to do before because it's a different environment. Like we interact differently. The trials and tribulations are different. We have different luxuries, right? So it's like times change and we adapt and we kind of adjust to the times. So I don't know why so many people are like kicking and screaming just to want things to stay one way. Like that's just not reality. And when it comes to relationships and things like that, we have to examine what that should look like in different environments. Like maybe it works one way and this type of environment is the best. And just like when people used to have to work on farms or used to own farms and till farms, they had to have big families. Like they had to have these big old families because they needed all the kids to get out there and help them work. Like that's why they did it. Like they were like, oh, okay, I need this, but you don't have to do that now. Like people could have kids like because they want to, but what I'm saying is the reality of it is a lot people are probably having less kids and stuff like that because it's not even, the reality of it is different, right? We are more consumers than we are producers in society anyway, right? So it's like if we're consuming more than we're producing, like we're not working on farms no more, we're not doing all of these things, so we don't need to have a big family for productivity, right? So if we having a big family now, it's going to cost us more. So we're going to adapt to those situations. So the fact that some people just can't get that out their head, like I say, the girl 23, let the girl live. Like I said and did a whole lot of silly stuff at 22. She doing way better than I was doing at 23. That's all I gotta say. Way better than what I was doing at 23. Like leave that
right. You know. Right. Yeah,
Well,
she's 23. We're gonna keep saying that. She's 23. You know, she's young. You know, but let me throw a wrinkle in there too. If she wants a traditional husband, she's gonna have to rethink how she gonna communicate with said traditional husband versus a husband who is kind of what I like to call a go-getter husband. You know, traditional husbands, they go get too, but that they are, how do I say this? It's more so of a homebody. Like me and my husband, we homebodies. You know, we more so are of the traditional nature, I would say. You know, there is a little bit of modernism in me, but for the most part, we're traditional. She has to really, just like Cannon said, she gonna have to really think about. She's already thinking about what type of man she wants right now, but 23, let's say in 10 years, that might change. She has every right to change that up.
But what I was going to ask Ms. Jovo, when you just said that, traditional because your husband's more of a homebody, wouldn't that be more of an introvert?
Yes.
Like, so he could be modern. He could just be an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think what she needs to be I think what needs to be noted is that, it's okay to want a person who's driven, one, and it's okay to want a person who's driven and can work at balancing the different things that they find important. Work, family, friends, we all have to do it, and I think that you have to make sure that you can do it, like Chloe would have to make sure that she can do it. And there's nothing wrong with her wanting somebody who can do it as well. She it's so funny because I know a lot of men always talk about how their girlfriends are clingy or they don't want, their wives want all their time. You can say it to a man, I need a little bit more time. In his mind, it's like, you need all my time. And it's like, I see this all the time. And I'm like, well, she's saying, look, I'll give you your time. I actually want that. I don't want you calling me every day, all day. Because then that tells me that you're not working toward anything. That doesn't make any sense.
That's when those stereotypes be messing people up, because people have different love languages. You can have a man who is super high on quality time, and you can have a woman that's the least of her concerns, right? So we got to be like, that's why that goes back to our first topic when I say you got to know. What how your partner gives and receives love, right? We can't just assume like, oh, it's a guy, so like or like this is a woman. I have, like, as a guy, let's say it's a guy and he's really high on quality time. He can't just assume like, oh, I'm getting this woman. Women love to be clingy, so I know I'm good. Like, no, because she may be super low on that, So she that may not be a priority for her at all. So it's very important that we mindful of that too. These stereotypes and gender, that's why we be so jacked up. That's why we be so jacked up.
And I'm glad you said that, Cannon, because I wanted to ask you and Ashley kind of a. I wanted to ask the both of you all, and within this conversation, do you think that the men saw what she said as quote unquote too masculine? Do they think that she's trying to, that statement is kind of her way of saying, well, because with some of these other celebrities, like with Meg Thee Stallion, they've said it about Chloe, and it's someone else that I'm thinking about too. I believe, I want to say it was Britney Spears in the highlight of her career. They talked about women being masculine, super masculine. They're trying to be us. Do you think that when Chloe made that statement, do you think there were guys out there saying, oh, she don't want a guy clinging to her, she don't want a guy checking on her, oh, she's masculine, she's not feminine? Do you think that guys had that kind of idea in their head? Because that's how I saw it. But you guys might, what are your thoughts on that?
You want? Okay. Well, in the context of the guys who probably having these conversations or who were up in arms about it, I mean, I'm pretty sure, because that's what I mean. We have all of these silly things that we call in masculine and feminine. It's all super silly. Like, I still need people to thoroughly define for me what is masculine and what is feminine outside of the arbitrary things that they continue to pick out and choose. Like, I was watching Ashley on the show the other day, and somebody said it was feminine for a man to carry his baby in a baby carrier. So I don't really, it's like, to me, it's just throwing anything at the wall to see what stick. It's basically anything I don't like, I'm just gonna put it in a category as an insult. Like I have conversations with people all the time. And I have, my good friend is actually here in the comments, and we always talk about masculine and feminine forces, right? But it's never in any type of derogatory way. Like, there's no, like, we understand that men and women there's masculine and feminine energy. It just exists, right? It coexists. It's a thing that both people should coexist. Like, there should be masculine and feminine energy that coexists inside everybody. So the fact that we making it like, ooh, as an insult, like, that's masculine. Okay, I'm in my masculine. What's the problem? And then I'll be in my feminine. It's okay. Like, that's what, there's certain things that require masculine energy, and there are certain things that require feminine energy. What is the insult? What is the problem? Why is that seen as like I say, as an insult now? Like, to be like, you're a masculine. I don't find it insulting.
Like, I've heard people say, they seem to be a little bit more reasonable to me. A few people say, well, you have both traits.
Right.
I never really thought of it that way, because people really just started talking about this. In 1900, a woman was feminine, a man was masculine. And then, as time goes on, our perceptions of what is feminine and what is masculine do change. I remember a time when women wore only skirts, and it was considered masculine to wear pants. That has changed now, but that doesn't take away from her womanhood, and it doesn't detract away from all of the other so-called feminine qualities that she has. I always saw the qualities that they use to define femininity and masculinity as people traits.
Yes, that's the point. Yes.
Kind. Why is it that only women are supposed to be kind? Why is it that only men can be confident? You can have a kind man that is no less masculine because he's kind, or because he's giving, or because he's attentive. Men, as they get older, they get children, and they become more attentive. They become attentive to their children. That's a part of being a dad, not just providing.
If they're good daddies, they will.
We kids need that from their fathers. It's not like that has to only come from women. Kids need also some time with their fathers, and that doesn't make them less masculine. So to answer your question, Joel, I didn't really see too many comments about them calling her masculine. I just saw a lot about them calling her toxic and saying that she's not marriageable, and
they say she's for the streets.
Yeah, she's for the streets. And they heard what they wanted to hear, because that's not even what she said. She didn't say, oh, I just don't want a man to call me. I want him to not answer. Like she's wanting some abusive relationship. She's just saying, have some goals. If you have some goals, you shouldn't have time to call me or answer my phone call every time I answer. Just think about it, and with our friends or whomever, unless you have an agreement with somebody that every time that you call, they're going to answer just to make sure you're okay, then most people are not going to always answer. I used to do that with my sister, and I have an aunt that still does that to this day. She's going to answer. One of my really good girlfriends used to do that. Even if she couldn't talk, she still just answer because she was concerned. But I told her, it's okay. If you can't talk, you can't talk. People have lives, and to try to turn it and make it a negative thing is kind of ridiculous. I think their motivation was not, since, they had another motivation. But I think the lesson in this is to just know that it's okay to have goals when you're young. She's 23, but I think also your sacrifices change and your focus changes. So now at 23, she could still manage a relationship. It will take a lot of effort, but as she gets older, then that sacrifice may look a little different. But I don't think that anybody should be trying to pressure her. I don't care if she's 23 or 33, trying to pressure her into marriage or anything, settling down, not at this age. Maybe in a couple years, and she can still maybe meet somebody who becomes her husband, develop a relationship. We see, I know women who've done that. Their husbands needed time to grow into their careers. Their relationship needed time, and the women needed time, and that's life. And you learn how to balance it all. Like you learn how to balance it. But I don't think that's saying, oh, she's not ready for a relationship or she's toxic. No, she's saying get a life. Get a life. I need you to have one too. Pretty simple. So I did want to take some callers. So did one of you have something else to say? Just close us out on that topic, and then we'll take some callers about it.
No, I'm just gonna. Last thing I was just gonna say is that I did want to say, we got to be real mindful of how westernized we become with some of our ideas and things like that, and like masculine and feminine energy. If we look at text, if we look at the way it's been talked about, like philosophically and through different types of expression over freaking centuries, humans have always discussed it in a more total way, as opposed to like the separation like we have here in 2021 in this weird patriarchy, like I say, where we put things in columns and we put these arbitrary ideas, just like even how you were stating, like, because when women wear skirts and that's feminine and da-da-da, we made that up. We really made that up. Like, didn't men used to wear like togas, and don't they wear kilts in Scotland? Like, we made up what that. Like, we to be like, this is a woman's thing now, and this is a man of masculine. So those are things we made up. But when it comes to the things that you kind of brought up, like the kindness and the confidence and stuff, that's can be considered a more softer energy versus that more, harder energy or whatever. That's, like I say, that's just the way that we've always kind of perceived it as people.
Yeah. And I had an interesting individual try to argue with me. You all are aware. Try to argue with me that, well, your feminine energy, and I don't care for that term. What does that mean? Your feminine, I prefer more so behavior, I guess. Your feminine behavior should be stronger than your masculine. But I'm like, well, wait a minute. So you can be completely kind and completely confident, or, just as kind as you are confident. You know what I mean? Like, it's just all arbitrary and subjective. And I just wish that we could go back to our parents' time where feminine was feminine, and women were feminine, and men were masculine. I don't call, men feminine unless, they really literally look and do everything how like women do, lipstick, makeup, things like that. But a man, just because
but I'm just saying, he still made it up.
He's no less masculine to me than a man who thinks, oh my God, I can't touch my daughter's hair. That's for the woman to do. Like, he's no less masculine. He might not do it every day, but he's no less masculine, and the guy who thinks he's less masculine because of that, because of pushing a cart or laying on your back when you're, these are things that they say. I worry about that. So
that had me dead. I mean, in the comments, how many of you guys have ever heard that a man feels feminine if he is laying on his back during the acts? During the romantic act with a woman. Certain, just the position of him being on his back
Make him less masculine.
I've never heard a man say that made him feel feminine. And that was the
I've never heard that either. I never heard that either. No, I've never heard that. Oh, yeah, that threw me for a loop. That threw me for a loop.
Oh yeah, I like how Dr. K said she said the baby clothing industry created pink for girls and blue for boys to increase sales. Before that, babies mostly wore white. That's what it's like we just really have to decipher, and sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees, and sometimes it's really difficult to do. But we really have to be able to decipher between things that we just created, like as a social construct, the same thing as race and everything else we kind of created to make it mean what we want it to mean. That's what we do with most things, and that's what we've done with that. Things that we've decided this is for a girl and this is for a boy, and we just continue to reinforce it. But when you really dig down deep into it, it really doesn't have any basis to say like it doesn't have any. And you know that just simply even if you look at other cultures around you, even in 2021. Every culture has their own ideas of what dress is considered, what type of attire is considered feminine or masculine, what type of, behavior. It's all different, right? So we made it up.
Right. It's all very different.
Right.
I wanted to actually point out that comment too from Dr. K. And Dr. K also asked an interesting question. I don't know if we have time to answer this one tonight, but she asked, do husbands' social roles evolve? And it seems like
yes, they do.
Men want them to kind of stay where they are, but time is changing. But that's I feel like that's a good question. If you guys want to respond, we can, but I think that's kind of heavy question as well.
No, I think that is the exact issue. Exactly. Like, women have changed a lot more over the past century or so, right? When it comes to first, we were property. We didn't have any rights to do anything, literally, you know what I mean? And all of these different things. We couldn't work outside the home. Until the war hit, and then we had to work outside the home. Then they tried to put us back in there, but we was like, nah, we're not doing it. So we've done a lot of changing and adjusting, and I do think that, men are having a harder time. But like I said, it goes back. I always liken it. I compare the thing. I compare it to any type of hierarchy. When people have certain privileges, people do not want to lose those privileges. So I understand. Like if I was, able to tell somebody what to do and own and basically own them and do all of this stuff, why would you like you get the benefits of that? So why would you? What is your desire to change that? It helps society overall and it makes sense, but on a selfish level, people don't want to lose those privileges. It's the same thing you see with certain privileges in regards to race, right? Like people aren't like horrible people. They aren't bad people. People just don't want to lose those privileges. They like the way things are and they want to keep it that way, especially if it's an experience that they have not had, right? If just like if a white person hasn't experienced the world as a black person, then that's not necessarily going to be at the front of their mind. Like, oh, I want to level the playing field. Why? Like if I'm getting a privilege or some type of benefit, no matter what it is, even if it's the benefit of the doubt, why would I want to try to share? So it's like kind of the same thing where like they're like, no, I'm in charge. I make the rules. I get the final say. I don't have to they don't want to be a partner. They want to be a dictatorship, because that's what it's been. So it's gonna be. We getting that on. We getting there.
We are. I mean, I think too. You have people who grew up in different types of homes, and I think that contributes to this as well. They people, they see what others do and then they do it, Yeah. I think it does evolve. I think husbands are evolving. I mean, I think they're evolving in a lot of cases because they don't have a choice. Whether it's financially they don't have a choice or just basically just the way of the world right now. I think they are evolving. I mean, I think that a lot of guys grew up seeing, kind of what both Cannon and Ashley have, Cannon kind of took us through that timeline of history. They grew up seeing men leave the house, go to work, and then they came home, and that's really all that they did. And I think that whomever you're dating or whomever you're courting or whatever your situation is, if that's not what you want, you got to clearly communicate that. Because again, we're in 2021. You got more women, if not all women, majority of women are working outside of the home. And two, you have stay-at-home moms who, she might be starting a clothing line or writing a blog or have her own website, whatever it is. That's considered work and alternative stuff as well. He's not gonna have a choice but to evolve around that. And it could be as something simple as before, he didn't do dishes and now he got to do some dishes. Or before,
they don't like
he
that,
didn't know how to put a
Oh,
ponitail.
no. You a feminist?
Yeah, he don't know how to put a ponytail in the hair. Hey, I'm just telling you what it is.
Well, okay. Okay, I have to be fair. There are some men who are okay with who are actually like my husband, for instance. He prides himself on being very hands-on with his children. Like that is so important to him. I mean, getting them dressed, taking them to school, doing whatever, taking them to doctor's appointments. Like he's very interested in doing that type of thing. And he and I were literally just talking the other day how like his like father's age, like me and his father's age, and like older, they don't even touch the newborns. Like we were like joking, like they'd be like no, like they be acting like they scared of it, like I can't touch it, and he was just like, I'm in the delivery room cutting the umbilical cord, doing skin to skin with my baby, like soon as my baby come out, like that's important to me. So I would like, they definitely are like, that's where the partnership I say comes into play, because and that's why I say we got to get rid of all of these little silly gender ideas, because my husband washed the dishes. I mean, if he needs to wash the dishes, he washes the dishes. He cook, he does stuff. We kind of mold and do whatever needs to be done at the moment. It's not like that's your job because you're a man, and that's your job because it's like, no, what makes the most sense to get this thing done?
But Cannon, do you mow the line though? I
mean, I have not. But he don't mow the line. We've been paying somebody to mow it. So
honestly, I just think you have to do you have to find somebody who you are compatible with. That's what I think. That's why I said those
dynamics. It's the dynamics, how well y'all work together.
Right.
That's the most important
thing. And compatible in the sense of they have similar beliefs around gender roles. I like gender roles. I'm okay with gender roles. I grew up under gender roles. Like if there was a man in the house, the girls didn't take out the garbage. If there were women in the house, the men didn't wash no dishes. We washed the dishes. Like that's how we grew up. My uncles weren't washing no dishes. And me and my sister were in the house. I know that sounds crazy to y'all, but
no.
I don't mind the gender roles. I think that you have to find somebody who, thinks like you, and you can't, like Candy can't kind of force her way onto me, and I can't force my way into her. That just is not how the world operates. We all have different upbringings, backgrounds. We were raised differently. So, and then some people could have been raised one way and decide, oh, I hated that. I hated that. Now I want to do something different. So we make things so difficult. Find somebody who believes that men do this and women do that, or y'all come to a partnership, or find somebody who is like Cannon, like, look, there's no place for that in my house. We just do whatever works. So, I think it's about compatibility. But we're getting a little away from the topic. But it was a good topic.
No, not us.
Right. Thank you for that question. Do men's roles change? I don't think they want them to change. They like the deal. They like just going to work and coming home and plopping on the couch. And now they're like, wait a minute, my woman's working, so she thinks that, I shouldn't be plopping on the couch. That's the modern world that a lot of men don't like. But
That's what I'm saying.
That's reality.
If she working late, you gotta go ahead and get in that kitchen.
So, but it's an interesting topic. I think we should definitely talk about that a little bit more at another time. We're gonna go ahead and roll into the next question. So, Glendon Cameron, Brittany Renner, I misspelled that, and Mike Haugabook. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly.
I don't know how to say his name.
I'm pretty sure I'm not.
It's Haugabook. Haugabook. I believe it's Haugabook. Yeah.
Okay, so for those of you who are not aware, these are all three people who have in some way been romantically and sexually involved with very, very young people significantly younger than them. We have Brittany Renner, who is, I believe, about 30 years old, who prides herself on going to college campuses to find and hook up with athletes, specifically athletes, probably thinking that she'll form some type of relationship and get what do you call them? Like get money from them. Who knows? That's supposedly her story. I didn't read too much into it, but supposedly this is what she does. And then there is a big one, the more recent one, Haugabook. Okay, and now this is quite disturbing as well. And what makes this more disturbing to me is that this little girl, because that's what she is, she's a little girl, was raised in a very troubled home. And the gentleman who, well, I'm not sure if I can call him a gentleman, but the man who was her godfather decided to have a sexual relationship with her. Once she turned 18, legal age to marry, he married her. So there was a lot of pushback about that. And, a lot of people likened it to Brittany Renner. The only difference I see between this and Brittany Renner is that with Brittany Renner, she wasn't necessarily, in a trusting relationship of authority. This man here is like the godfather. And, she was very troubled. And I want to talk about that later. But she was very troubled. And that he ended up marrying her. And then there is my least favorite, Glendon Cameron, who was or is a 55-year-old. Oh, that's the wrong one. But 55-year-old man who has admitted to having sex with underage girls. Okay, he describes in very grave detail his sexual relationship with girls as young as 15. Okay, so a little disturbing. His name is Glendon Cameron. So what do you guys think about this? This has sparked a very interesting questions. Brittany Renner, predator, Haugabook, predator, Glendon Cameron, predator. These are predators, right? Well, I think they're predators. But there are people who say, well, they are engaging with adults. Men and women who are technically adults. What do you all think?
See, Brittany Renner being in this conversation is what happens when you try to make fetch happen. Because I really hadn't even paid it that much attention just because I just feel like it's mostly manufactured and it's manufactured outrage about whatever. So I hadn't even really looked into it too much. But when I went to go look at it today, apparently he was 19 when she met him and she was 26, which is a 7-year age difference, which is as far as maturity level, in my opinion, like when I was 26, I wouldn't be dating no 19-year-old, like dating no silly kids. But when it comes to like age difference, even if it was a 19-year-old young lady and a 26-year-old man, that's not something that I would be like, oh my God, look at the age difference. Like it's not that ridiculously deep, right? To be that up in arms about it. It's nothing to compare. You cannot compare that to these 50, 60-year-old men preying on freaking barely legal girls, and especially when they go out of their way, like with that situation, like you stated, Ashley, there's a power dynamic there, there's a trust there, there's a grooming there that takes place. It's just not all things being equal. It's like I don't really even understand how the the Brittany Renner thing. I just really don't even understand it. Like, to me, that's more of like a groupie that's, you know, out here messing around with like basketball players and celebrities, just like all the other groupies do. And I just don't get how she became this poster child for whatever she the poster child for. And with the post that she put up at the college, which is why I wanted to know if that's specifically what the issue in question was, like, was her attitude like, oh, she's saying she's going to the college to find young boys, like that makes her predatory. I just feel like she's trolling because that's what she's being painted as. So, and we're in the time of the trolls where people, for attention, for whatever, a lot of times they'll troll. Like, especially like look at Lil Nas X, like he's the freaking master king of troll. Like, they'll take things that people can maybe say about them or try to paint them as, and they take it and they troll with it, and they just like, okay, now if I see some type of situation where you could show me where she's consistently with these young boys, then I'll say, okay, that's predatory behavior, I believe, whatever. But she had a relationship with a 6-year age difference. He was 19, she was 26. I don't know, but that is nowhere near in comparison to this big grown adult man talking about go after looking for the age of consent in different places, right? Look for the ones who don't have active parents in their lives, right? All of these different things. No, that is not anything to compare those two things. And I also think it's interesting with how we try to pretend like all things being equal when it comes to the way those things are perceived or the way that we socialize those things in society, right? It's just, there are double standards, and there are double standards that continue to be perpetuated. I don't agree with all those double standards, so it's not my thing, but it is reality. And at the end of the day, it's just not even looked at anywhere close to the same thing. And it's like boys are more so pushed to, oh, you got you an older girl, oh, hey, high five, look, whatever. I don't agree with that, right? But like I say, him dating at 19, dating an older woman is not the same as a underage girl being preyed on by a elderly man. It's just not. It's just not the same thing. It's just, like I say, just trying to make something to say, here's one. If you want to compare, there are situations that you can compare. Like, you can bring up what's her name, Mary Kay Letourneau or whatever, who freaking had the babies with that 13-year-old boy and then married him when she got a jail. That's a perfect. Hey, you can group that if that's what you want to talk about. But stop trying to make up stuff over here to try to say something. There are other predatory situations that, even if you want to try to involve a woman, say women do it, whatever. That's a prime example of a predatory situation involving a woman that you can equate to those situations. And let's do that. Like, let's not go over here and try to put them in the same category, because they aren't.
What do you think, Jovo?
So, yeah, when we talk about categories, I think we working with some different categories, as Cannon was saying. But I do want to point this out about Brittany Renner. You got reckless sexual behavior, which is probably what she's doing. She got her 10, 15 seconds of fame, and we feeding into it on social media. She's taking these pictures. She's talking about, hide your sons, hide your nephews, whatever it is that she said. I think she said hide your sons, and she, did the little selfie on the campus of Jackson University. She is not the only woman of color. I don't know exactly what her ethnicity is, but she's not the only one out there who is purposely looking for young black athletes to date, marry, have kids with, or whatever. This is not brand new. It's plenty of them out there. Okay. And the crazy part about it is there are some who are married and they will tell you that's why I purposely went to this school, or that's why I purposely, went to these teams' games. Like there are women out here, they do research on specific sports and specific things because that's what they want. They want someone who's making the money, who has the popularity, where they can live a certain lifestyle. The only difference between this generation and way back then, they didn't have, IG, Facebook, all these social media platforms to demonstrate what they were doing. Okay. If you read up, and you can do your research, but if you read up, these women, there were specific nightclubs, certain cities women would move to. Think about what happened, and some of the guys can kind of, because I think ESPN did a special on this. Let's talk about the University of Miami in the 80s. Okay, their university football team was the equivalent of, I would say, the Dallas Cowboys in the NFL. Women were flocking to Miami in the 80s just so they could look for a man that played for that particular school, because they had a high rate of players going into the NFL at that time, whether they were doing it legally or illegally. They were getting into the league. They were getting paid big bucks before that. So, on the Brittany Renner situation, she's a troll. She has her fame right now, and she living in her ring light and spotlight, and we buying into it. Now, as it relates to these other two cases, you have men who are actually saying basically that I've been watching her. I've been looking to see at what age I was basically going to get with her, and then bam, it happened. That's what I see with these other two. And then what really kills me about this is that there's so many constructs that these men use to justify their actions. Um, you guys brought up Mary Kay Letourneau. I'm going to bring up David Koresh, the cult leader out in Texas, in the 90s, that he was basically, bedding, girls as young as age, I want to say, believe 10, 11 years old. And the parents who were part of this cult were giving him, this kind of whatever they call the spiritual permission to marry their daughters and make them a part of his marital bed, stuff like that. We need to call this exactly what it is. It's sexual assault. That's what it is. It's child molestation. That's what it is. Okay, with Mr. Haugabook and with Mr. Glendon. It's disgusting. Okay. You cannot justify this by any means, even though people are. Okay. They were watching these girls, especially in Mr. Haugabook's case. He had been watching this girl basically since she was younger. Okay. I saw someone in the comments talking about you know, I believe they were referencing, sugar daddies and uncles. And I just think about me as a child growing up, and I had friends who they knew older guys, and they would do certain things to get these older guys' attention or to get money from them and things like that. And these guys, you know, they were only kind of participating in that behavior because they had been watching us. The predators watch girls. That's what they do. No one can tell me that this man was not watching this young lady. And then now all of a sudden, it wasn't all of a sudden, oh, I want to marry her. He had been watching her. Okay. And then with Mr. Glendon, I have a problem with a grown man getting on a media platform saying that he actually slept with someone this young and nothing's being done about it. I have a problem with that. And as I was discussing and texting with you all, with Raven and you all earlier today, I this topic right here really, really puts me on fire because I'm more so interested in saying what are we gonna do about it versus we keep talking about it. Yeah, Brittany Renner, she's somewhat of a problem, but it's a million of her. She just publicizing what she's doing. It's so many women out there who are doing that. But with these predators, We need to do something about that. We need to do something about that. We definitely need to do something about that. Because I have questions about the Haugabook situation. Because I know the mom went live and I know she was talking and spilling out stuff. I just have a problem with it. And I'm with Cannon on this. They're not the same. They're not the same. Brittany Renner ain't at no high school, elementary school, looking at no 9, 10-year-old boy. You know, she at a university where there are men who are of age. That's what she at. This situation with these other two guys, these are situations where they purposely were looking at these girls while they were little
18.
girls.
Before
Yes.
18.
That's
and starting
a problem.
and grooming them and starting relationships with them. Now, I don't honor
Absolutely.
Brittany Renner's behavior, right? But I agree, it's not
Right.
exactly the same thing. You
No,
have
it's not
these
the
grown
same.
men who are, you know, people are always like, just like with the whole Marcus Houston situation, she's grown now and it's fine, and she's married, and if they're happy, you know, I don't care. But let's be real, that relationship must have started before she turned 18. You know, for the same thing with these situations with Haugabook and and you know, for him to marry her at 18, there must have been something going on before 18. You know, and people are like, well, they're 18. I'm like, okay, yesterday they were 17. So, you know, and my whole thing is if you will sleep with an 18-year-old, you will sleep with a 17-year-old.
I mean, of course. Look at. I mean, the thing is that the hand is always played, right? Whenever you're talking about the age of consent. So at the end of the day, if you like, what person in their freaking 40s and 50s is out here trying to sleep with the youngest person they can legally? And that's not like that's not seen as problematic.
How low can I go?
Right, like that's supposed to be okay. Like the age of consent is 17, so I'm good. But you're disgusting. And just like you said, that you're only stopping there or admitting to being right there because that's legal, because you don't want to get in trouble. But who are you? Like what are you doing?
Exactly.
Like we have to look at the power dynamics with that too. Like I said, like I'm 38 years old. I have a 19-year-old son. It is not. There's no 19-year-olds out here that I'm like, you know what, we could just really be together and have this great relation. What? No, there's no correlation. So you can't tell me, like, I hate when people, especially like, and I mean, the question that you asked is like age limits and different things like that. I think that there are some nuanced discussions to be had on different age, you know, groups and things like that, and what the actual space and age is. But I think once you, like, if somebody 30 and somebody 50, that don't matter. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, if you look at their development, if you look at basically how they're able to be in life and experience stuff like that, 30 and 50, you know, it's not really that much going on. But if you're looking at 19 and 40, those are different, like, milestones. Like we say, like the brain is not even fully developed until you're 25. So yeah, there's something to be said about, like, what are you discussing with this person? Like, what? Like, stop trying to play with me. Like, we're just in love because no, you're not. You're not in. You don't have nothing in common as a 40-year-old person with a 19-year-old person. Like, nothing at all. Like, y'all don't have no type of life experience in common that you're gonna be able to discuss. Like I said, they brain not even fully developed. They out here like Chloe Bailey talking about, you know, I don't want you to pick up the phone. You know, and you out here, you know, trying to wind down, or should be, you know, 40 years old. So and they still have so much more life to experience, which they should be allowed to do without you sitting up here hovering over them, trying to dictate and trying to freaking. That's the main thing. What they say all the time: get them young so that you can teach them and mold them. That is some weird stuff to me. Some weird, insecure stuff to me. That you can't be whole enough, like I said, to have a relationship where the dynamic in that relationship is based on things like trust and mutual respect and things like that, but more so is based on like a control and or a teacher and pupil type of thing, and you in a romantic relationship, like that says a lot about the person who's doing that, male or
It
female,
does.
or male.
It does. It says a lot about what they have going on in their own lives, not just insecurities. But I always tell people, I've told clients this and just people in general. It's two main predictors of behavior. You got life history, you got lifestyle factors. There's something to be said about the lifestyle of someone who is a 40-year-old plus grown man who is only looking at 19, 18, 17-year-olds. It has something to be said about that type of lifestyle, you know. And basically, to me, I think it has a lot to do with I'm rejected by my own peers and the people in my age community. I think it has a lot to do with insecurities. I think it has a lot to do with when we talk about this sexual reckless behavior. I think it's more people who are using sex as an unhealthy coping skill now more than ever. It's a lot, and it's disturbing, and I have a daughter, so for me, I speak so aggressively and passionately about this because I'm just thinking, you know, she's one of them who's out there on the playground or at school, and then you got this 40 something year old man, or at the time he might be 20, 30 something, and then 10 and 11 years roll by and he shoots his shot, as they would say, when she turns 14, 15 years old. That means you've been watching her. You've been watching her. What kind of person stands by and watch a girl develop and then have that thought and that belief of, I could, just like Cannon just mentioned, I'm gonna mold and shape her into doing what? I'm gonna tell you what exactly what you want. You know why? Because you're not even in charge of your own life. So it's easy for you to go out there and manipulate somebody else because you don't know how to get your own self together. You know, um,
Mm-hmm.
and Dr. K is right in the comments. Child marriage is legal in 48 states under the age of 18, which is again disturbing. But that goes back to some of this cultural, stuff that we just, we got a lot of stuff on the books that we haven't addressed in a long time that needs to be readdressed. You know, in terms of laws, in terms of societal norms, it's just disturbing. It's disturbing.
I think
And,
we are
and I had a question. I didn't
continuously.
know, Ashley, not to cut you off, but I didn't even know with the Haugabook situation. Did any legal authorities get involved? Like were there any allegations at some point from, like, family children services, from the law? Because I was trying to look and I couldn't really find anything other than what they showed on social media. But you know,
Well, from my understanding, the mom had some speculation that he was, having a sexual relationship with her daughter. From my
mm-hmm,
understanding,
mm-hmm,
I'm not sure.
mm-hmm.
Apparently, the mom and him had a sexual relationship
Yeah.
in the
Mhm.
past. See, the thing is that I've looked at it. Well, I didn't look at it that deeply, but it doesn't. I don't believe that any authorities or anything are going to get involved because we also have to be aware of who we see as victims and who we don't. And she's not seen as a victim of
Mm-hmm,
anything, so
mm-hmm,
nothing is
mm-hmm,
gonna do
mm-hmm.
anything, especially with
Yeah,
the way that she's speaking, you know what I mean, and all of that. She's not going to be
yeah,
seen as a victim, even though she
Right.
is, whether she knows it or not. She's not
Yeah.
going to be seen as one.
right.
So nobody's
Yeah.
going to do anything. No.
All right,
Mm-hmm,
ladies.
mm-hmm.
I want to take some calls, so you all go ahead, call in, share your thoughts, ask some questions. If you have some pushback, that's fine too, as long as it's respectful. And I did want to say, with Haga book, you know, it's disturbing, not just because she's young, but because she was a young girl hurting. Her mother was, using drugs. She really did not have anyone. As far as I know, her father was not in her life. She was just a troubled girl. She had a situation where she was missing for a while. Um, and I believe she had been abused.
Mm-hmm.
This little girl was a little girl that was hurting. And I cannot understand a grown man that sees and knows that, and as opposed to getting her help, he decides he's going to have a sexual relationship with her. That's, you think that, and I still think most men and most women, if they encountered a boy who was being abused or neglected, that their response would be, I need to go get him some help, and not in the
Well,
sense of having sex with him. You know?
well, yeah, okay. I see what you're saying, but I think overall we just have to be careful, and we just have to be better, because the other part of it, and I wanted to bring this up, is that we don't see boys as victims a lot of times either, and they able to get taken advantage of as well. Even like little things that we see as being innocuous. Like I sent you the picture earlier with Bow Wow with his son, and we made like when he posted the picture when his son was first born, the main thing that he stated was, he said, "Oh, watch out, ladies, watch out." And this is an infant, right? You're never gonna see somebody with their baby daughter infant, like, watch out, fellas. Like, nobody's doing that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, she gonna have all the guys. Like, nobody does that with a baby girl. But for some reason, when you get a little boy, it's okay, right? So it's like we sexualize them very early, and we think it's okay, and it's really not.
Yep. Even right down to the clothing that they sell for kids now. Even right down to just some of the programs that are made for kids. Movies, media. I mean, what we're talking about is not new information. But I guess, my thing is, what are we gonna do about it? Because I did see your meme that you sent us, Cannon, about hide your daughters or something like that, and it's just like, when is the over sexualizing gonna stop? And what kind of conversations do we need to have with our children moving forward?
Yeah. And I hope nobody hears this and thinks that we're just talking about it not being right with men. It just so happens that these two situations involve men. And Brittany Renner is a predator as well. I think she's not a sexual predator. She is a different kind of predator. And the situations are different. If you compare them, they're all different. And I think they all need to be addressed. And ultimately, it comes down to us protecting our youth, and not continuing to push these boundaries, because now it's, oh, she's 18, that's okay. Now, when will it become 17? And when will it become 16?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think a long time ago, I don't think anybody would have been having this discussion, about whether or not these things are appropriate. But it scares me a little bit that we're having such a debate about whether or not these men and this woman, are doing things that are appropriate, just because they're 18. I don't know. It does seem predatory. It does. Even though they're 18, 18 don't mean nothing. The 18.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is for her to go to the school, like, if we just keep it in context of her going to the school and saying that, I don't have any evidence to say that is an MO for her, actually, like, because she's almost 30 now. I think she's like 29, 30 or something like that. Just like Jovo said, that's literally what I'm looking at, and I feel like we created her, right? Because everybody giving her all this attention and be like, she did, trying to make something happen. And so she latched onto it, and she's taking the narrative and saying, okay, because I mean, she knew when she put that, it was going to have everybody up in arms, right? So I don't know if she necessarily is actively looking for 18-year-old boys. Something could be said about whether or not that's a good joke to make, for her to make, you know what I'm saying? Or if it's in poor taste, but I don't know if that's what she's doing. But if I look at the relationships that they use as a thing to say she's this or that, she, like I say, he was 19 and she was 26. That's just not anything I would necessarily bat an eye with, even if it was reverse ages. I wouldn't be like 19 and 26. Oh, so predatory. I I wouldn't think of it like that. And I think they were together for quite some time too. So at least 3 or 4 years. So I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, and then I think the major difference is just that the relationships didn't necessarily start before, 18. That's
Correct.
when it's it's statutory, right? So there are some differences, but I do think that all behaviors from these 3 stories are predatory in their own way, and it's just interesting. It's just interesting that what's most interesting is that that there was such debate about it, that people were in the social media threads like heated. Like,
no, I think that is actually I think this is actually a little different, that it is debate about it, or more debate about it. I think before it was even less debate about it. So much stuff was just seen as okay. It was just the norm. Like people tell you all the time, because this person was with this person and she was 13, and it was just like So but now at least people are it is a little bit more pushback on it, and I think that does show that times are actually changing, that we're a little bit more aware of how harmful these things actually are. We're a little bit more aware of what grooming is, right? We're a little bit more aware of why it matters, as opposed to being like, well, she's 15 and she fast and she wanted to do it, right? Like we understand how manipulation works and different things like that. We understand it a little bit better. So it's good that we're having those conversations.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So did you want to say something really fast, Javonda?
I did. I wanted to, and I'm not being purposely messy, but let me just say this about Brittany Renner. I think if the shoe was on the other foot in terms of, if Brittany was Bill and Bill is out here, searching for a certain type of woman, and as men would say, women would fall for the Bills, then it would be, you women need to pick better. And so what I find it interesting is they're allowed to tell us that in certain instances, but we could easily say, and I'm saying it without saying it. If Brittany Renner is such a problem, don't pick her. You guys need to pick better. It's, and I like conversations like this because it gets us to thinking about the over sexualization, the roles, who's a victim, who's not a victim. And what I say to all of it is, you can't control what some of these other people do, but you definitely can control your response. And I'm speaking strictly on the Brittany Renner situation, because I think it's separate from the Haugabook and the Glendon situation. I think that it's important for us to really, and I think we talked about this in our very first show, to really have candid conversations with our young adults and with our kids and our teenagers, etc., about sex, about expectations, about dating, about what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. I think this is one of these instances where you could definitely build a conversation with your teenagers and young adults about this. Because look at the relationship Brittany Renner coming out of. I'm curious to, I would be curious to ask that young man, what was he told about women like Brittany? What were some of the green and red flags like we talked about earlier? So I wanted to say that about the Brittany Renner situation.
Okay. All right, ladies. Well, I think that's wrapping up our show for tonight. We're like at a record, y'all. We ain't never wrapped up this soon.
I kind of got curious. I wanted to ask you a question about what we calling in.
Oh, we have a caller. 1 second. Hi, Darren. Everyone, we have Darren on the phone.
Hey.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey. What's up, ladies?
So you wanted to add your 2
Hey,
cents or ask a question?
Uh, I was just gonna chime in on the red flag and green flag thing.
Okay.
You know, when you growing up as a young adult, I don't think no one even knows they're green or red flags, right? Because you're so caught up in just learning yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I think about it and look back, I think my green flags changed over time.
Okay.
When I was young, I like my green flags for me was probably if a girl was blowing me up, texting me all day, giving me all this attention. Then as I grew older, it was like that became a red flag. Like she doing too much, you know, do she got a life, stuff like that. So I think when you talk about the green and red flags, I think you have to really find out more about yourself before you can even start acknowledging what a green and red flag is, right? Because it's gonna change over time.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, people are, it's very interesting. I'm happy you brought that up because people's red flags sometimes say a lot about them. You know, your red flags reveal, you know, that's like that becomes a red flag. Like, you know what I mean? A lot. And so I love that you brought that up. The things that we look for as we grow older, or the things that we value as we get older, might change a little bit. And then as we heal, the things that we look for might change, you know. And our own, whatever we think red flags are, can be like a red flag to somebody else who's in a better spot, mature spot. So I love that you brought that up. Thank you, Darren.
Right. And do y'all really think Brittany Renner is a predator?
I think she's a predator. I just think that she is not preying on them sexually. I think she is leveraging and taking advantage of young boys who will probably be real eager to just sleep with some chick in college, you know, because boys are kind of pushed to sow their wild oats in college. And I don't know if she thinks that she's going to groom them to be, you know, like you guys know Cam Newton's situation, you know, how he married the stripper, the former stripper. She pushed out babies back, you know, like back, like what am I trying to say? She pushed them out, one after the other. And I think she has like 3 or 4 kids with him. And, you know, she walks away with part of his money. I think that some women do that intentionally.
But
and
how
so
many
I think that's kind of praying.
How many young boys has she been caught messing with? I mean, younger boys.
Oh, you mean Brittany Renner?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure. And then I want to also say this could be a situation that's similar to the Chloe Bailey situation. You know, the guys kind of just painted it for what they saw it as or what they wanted it to be. Maybe, I don't know.
I think that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I think with the way society is made, men do not like to see women come up at all, and not in men's defense, right? The women get labeled gold diggers and whatever the case may be, even if the man pursued the woman, right? So my thing is, I don't even know if she pursued him. Maybe he pursued her. And what if she was in a situation where he was probably, a freshman or sophomore? What if the senior would have hollered at her and she gave him some play? Now she got pregnant by a 22-year-old. So would that change the narrative or not? Because I just don't see, I just can't see myself calling her a predator if it's not more than one. Just like if someone lied, I'm not gonna call them a liar. They just lied at that time, but they're not a liar. So I'm not gonna say she's a predator because she got caught up in a situation where she got pregnant by a younger person that had money. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a real big reason everybody calls her a predator, because you have money. Now, if he's 19-year-old and broke, this wouldn't be a story. It wouldn't be a story.
Okay.
I think she's an opportunist. That's what I think. I think she's an opportunist. I think that she is one of millions of these women on these social media platforms who got their angles right, you know, they're very nice looking, they equipped, and they using that as leverage to build opportunity. I think that's what it is.
Okay.
I think it's opportunity for the
Okay.
dollar bill.
Yeah. But isn't that predatory though? If I get what Darn is saying, Darn is saying if it's not happening continuously, then it's not predatory. I get that. I completely understand that. And then I also think that we have to acknowledge that this could just be one of those manosphere topics that they just blew up. I mean, I literally just experienced this week where you say one thing and they make it something completely different. We just talked about it with Chloe Bailey, So it could be one of those things. And I apologize for not digging a little deeper. I should have dug a little deeper to really, really find out who this girl was all about. Because it could very well be something that they have blown up out of proportion. Like I can't remember if it was Giovanna. I think it was Cannon. Cannon, you may mention how they were kind of painting her as a molester or predator when she was with PJ. And you thought, oh, okay, I think she's kind of playing on words, kind of feeding into this negativity. Like people do kind of just, being sarcastic with it. Oh,
trolling. Trolling. Like I know if I put this there, everybody gonna go crazy.
So it could have definitely been something that these manosphere men kind of put together to make another topic, to make another video, get some viewers. I just literally experienced this. So that very well could be the case. Very well. Yeah. But if it is the case that she's on these campuses out here trying to get these boys, I think that's poor taste and poor judgment on her. And it's not going to sue her well in the long run. So I just hope that that's not the case. you said it might. I don't think it will. I know. Maybe she'll get a little money. But
hey, that's what she has to
say. Thank you.
I think that's what she's after. I agree with. I'm kind of with you, Darwin, on that. I think that's what she's after. I think she's after fame. I think she's after, the quote unquote comfortable lifestyle that has been portrayed on social media by, like I said earlier in my comments, like the difference between Brittany is that now they have media platforms for women to demonstrate what they're doing. This has been going on for a long time. Okay. And those of you guys who are like really sports buffs, you know these stories that some of these athletes will tell you about the groupies and about the women who kind of hang around. And that's what they want. That's what they want. And if they are a predator, they I don't think they're predatory for the sex. I think they're predatory for the money. If there's such a thing. So
yeah. All righty. I think we have one other caller.
Okay.
Oh, Darn, did you want to add something else?
No.
You good? Oh, okay. Well, call back if you think of something. Thank you so much for your insight.
Okay.
Thank
you.
No
problem.
All right. So we did have one other caller. Let's see. I'm going to get them on. Someone's asking what happened with Chloe. Can someone explain real fast? But we're going to wrap it up in just a little bit. But we have one more caller.
Raven.
Hi, Raven. You're live.
Hi guys. How's it going?
All right.
Hey, girl.
Hey, Raven.
Hi. Good show, ladies. Y'all look beautiful. Oh my gosh. Go
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. I only wanted to say one little thing. I wanted to hit on what Cannon and Miss Jovo said. You guys are right on point. We have to build rapport. When we have the conversations, it's got to be continuous. The kids have to feel comfortable, coming to talk back with the adults in the community, the elders. They have to be open and honest. But if, for instance, a lot of times the old people will say, well, we did things so perfect back in the day and y'all can't figure it out, blah, blah, blah. But then they'll completely disregard the crack epidemic, And so it's one thing to be honest about our shortcomings and, really just talk about the things that we've overcome as a people, but it's another thing to romanticize for that. And I think when we romanticize it, it does a disservice to the next generation. And that's all I have to say.
All right.
Yep.
Ladies, what you all think?
No, I totally agree with her. That's why I always say we definitely have a halo effect when it comes to how we talk about the past and past generations. Like I just don't think none of these things ever existed the way that we talk about them. Like we take out all the bad stuff and all the challenges, and we only want to remember like, oh, they baked the apple pie. Like that's all that's all we want to remember. But
right.
But before we
Red
get off,
flag.
before I forget.
Red flag.
Thank you, Raven. We miss you so much. Everybody who's watching, this is our girl Raven. She couldn't be present with us for the whole show, but she called in, showed some love, and we can't wait to have you back, girl, for next week.
Yes.
Oh, thank you guys. You guys did great. I just wanted to give my little 2 cents. I love the conversation. I don't necessarily think Brittany Renner is a predator. I see where you were going, Ashley. Me and my husband were talking and we really feel like she's just kind of like Miss Jovo said, like a quintessential gold digger. Like,
yeah.
She wasn't hanging out at middle school basketball games or anything like that. So, you know, but I can see where you're going with that. It would be predatory, I guess, if she continued to only prey on younger men. You know, but she did. That's why I was speaking on rapport, because she made videos, and that's why it's so important to be able to be open with our younger generation, because it's the older men around him could really have just, you know, touched that place in his heart. They could have, you know, explained to that young man, maybe not that girl.
Yeah.
But even with the situation with the other young ladies, you know, predators are going to exist. You know, some of these bad people out here. So we have to build rapport with the younger generation so that they don't fall victim to those things. And then I have a strong community where we get those people out of there quickly, you know.
Okay.
And efficiently.
All righty. Thank you, girl.
All right.
Thank you, Raven.
All right. Good night.
You too.
All right. So we are up to our highest viewers at the end of the show.
Woo!
Thank y'all so
Yay!
much.
Awesome.
This is the last chance to call in, y'all. Call in. You can also click the link in the chat box if you would like to actually join us on screen, just to kind of close these conversations out. You can speak on any of the topics.
Okay, so before the next caller calls in, before I forget, okay, I wanted to ask you a question about the gender roles. This is a question that I wanted to ask you. So let's say that you get a partner, right? You say you're really strictly interested in them strict gender roles. You know, you're very traditional with that. You want him to cut the grass. You want to wash the dishes. You want to do X, Y, Z. Let's say that you find a partner or you find a mate, but what if you're better at something that you consider to be something he should do than he is, and he's better at something that you feel like you should do than you are? Would you be willing to bend on that, or is it like, no, you're gonna be like, nah, even though I'm better than you at this, you got to do it?
Are you asking me that? No, if it makes more sense for my husband to do something or for me to do something, then, you know, I'm gonna go with it. I don't have these like strict gender roles in my mind. Now, you know, obviously there are some things that he could do better, so I wouldn't even think about doing. But I would say I'm not like super strict with it. Like, you know, if he's not home, I'll take the garbage out. I mean, like when I was coming up, we used to wait till my uncles got home. And the garbage would sit there until they got home, right? But I mean, I take garbage out now, you know, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not like super strict about it, but I like to see that a guy appreciates gender roles just like I do. Like I remember a while back, I went out on a date And I was just really taken back by this one guy because, you know, he's a Southern guy from Texas. So I'm thinking he gonna be like, you know,
Southern gentleman.
yeah, and he was like, no, just because you're a woman doesn't mean that I have to open your door and, you know, and I'm not expecting you to cook for me. You know, I want to cook for him. And he's like, but I want to cook for you. And so, you know, and it's weird for me because I want to do those things, right? So I had to really think, like, is this who I want to be with? Because I'm not going to be able to be who I want to be. Like, I want to do those things. I want to cook for you, get your favorite drink and your dessert and all that. But I also want you to kind of do some things that men typically do. I know that there are gender roles, right? I appreciate gender roles. I think the problem when people try to force them onto other people, where it's to where what works with me and the person I'm with may not work for you and the person you're with. You know, because it's 2020.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So I'm not like super strict about it, you know.
I was wondering if you were like, that's a deal breaker. You got him. Okay.
It would make sense. Like if
I have a confession though. I'm not cutting grass. I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not.
No, I'm sorry.
Ain't nobody thinking about what my husband's talking about in the chat. Ignore him.
What did you say? What did you say, Jovanda?
I said I'm not cutting grass. I'm not cutting grass, and there have been a few times where I see the trash full, and I see my husband sitting there, and I'm really quick to say, babe, can you take the trash out? I would have to say this. At my house, there are gender roles. They're not super strict. Like, you know, if I'm in a situation where like on tonight, you know, I obviously I'm you know I'm in the podcast right now, you know. So this won't be the night that I'm going to cook this big dinner and we're going to sit down to the table and eat as a family. This is not going to be that night. And he's fine with that. He's fine with going to get something to eat or whip up something in that kitchen. But on the flip side of that, if it's been a few days since I've cooked, he will say, you know, you know, what are you cooking for dinner tonight? And he's hinting along to, is my wife going to cook? I think we go back and forth. But I like what you said, Ashley. Yeah, I like what you said, Ashley, about forcing it on other people, because I do think that in this manosphere, you know, type of situation that they've created, that someone, you know, they see the wife who is a stay-at-home mom and she's cooking these meals and taking care of kids and etc. Oh, she's up here, she's wonderful, she's doing what she should be doing. And then there's this kind of, you know, stereotype, there's this kind of you know, conclusion that the working mom, the roles confuses things, you know, and he's doing this and you're doing this too. It just confuses things. It doesn't confuse things, you know. You know, my daughter is learning that, you know, they're two capable adults that are raising her. We're both capable of getting dinner on the table, and that's okay. You know, just like you all said, it's 2021. You know, it's 2021, but I'm not cutting grass. I'm not. I go out there and plant some flowers, you know, because that's what I like to do. I go out in my vegetable garden or whatever, but I'm not cutting grass, okay? Even on the ride lawnmower, I'm not putting my AirPods in and I'm not going out there. I'm not doing it. Babe, the grass is getting higher. That's my role. That's what you're going to hear me say, you know, so.
Yeah. Well, this is so interesting. We can talk about gender roles later, because a question that comes to mind is, well, what about a man who says, well, I'm not washing dishes? It just gets so like complicated. I think people make it complicated though. They make it complicated. Anyway, Darren's back on the phone. He wants to chime in. Oh, Teresa says, hey, Darwin. No grass and the garbage is a slippery slope.
Teresa, I know it's 2021, Teresa, but I'm not cutting grass. And I mean, I have a huge yard. We're not doing it.
Okay. All right, Darren, what did you want to add?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the gender roles. Like my wife said, we don't really have gender roles in the house, but I do think gender roles exist within places and situations, right? Like when we're out in public, we go on dates and stuff like that. I'm way more aware of what's of our surroundings than my wife is. Like I'm noticing everything. I'm noticing what they're doing, who's moving out the door, what they got. I might notice a bulge next time they got a pistol. I'm noticing these things. And I think as a man, you're supposed to be more aware than you're a woman because you're more. You should be more versed on things like that, right? Because you're a man. You grew up in the streets. Most likely, you grew up dealing with certain things like that. So you have to protect your woman when you're out in public. Like when we come in the house late at night, if we have a bag or two, she will carry the bag. Because I believe if someone attacked us, I need my hands to be free to fight, right? So things like that, like people want to put too much emphasis on these gender roles in the house, like washing dishes. That's nothing. What about protecting our lives? You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Like, do my wife know how to pick me up just in case the house is burned down? Can she physically get me up out this burning house? Like, men need to make sure that they doing their job as protectors and not worrying about no dishes and garbage and all that crazy stuff. Like, gender roles should exist, but not with the petty stuff, you know? So that's what I just wanted to say about that. Like, if women, like, women are more, like when we have a company, my wife senses other women's attitude way before I probably sense it, right? So I'm just gonna take her advice on certain things, like, I don't like her. She has an attitude, or certain things like that. I might not even peep certain things, but I think women sense more vibes and more negative vibes and positive vibes from people than me, because we're not emotionally connected to people like that as much as women are. So it's certain things that women, I think, are stronger at just naturally, and they should just take the role in that. And I think it's things that men are strong at naturally, they should take the lead in that also. So, but the dishes and stuff like that, because if you're single, you've been washing dishes for years. You've been cooking for yourself for years, taking out the garbage for years. But when you're in a relationship, you ain't been looking out for somebody for years. So once you get with that person, things change. You know, you're not accustomed to those type of things like as you was when you're single with washing dishes and stuff like that. It's things you have to learn, or teach your partner, right?
Okay. Yep. I agree with that. Well, parts of it. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. But it just really just goes back to what we were talking about. Find somebody who is compatible with you. You know what I mean? You know, who shares similar ideals. You will go crazy trying to get your wife to think that she's supposed to cook every night when that ain't what she thinks. And you will go crazy.
Right.
You will go crazy trying to get your husband to think that he's supposed to be fixing the roof and plumbing every other day. If he like, what? We go pay for somebody to do that. Like, you might as well just hang it up.
I don't like the way he said exactly about that cooking every day.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Darn. I want to get to a question that another commenter had. Thank you, Darn.
All right.
Bye-bye. I want to get to a comment that another viewer had about, the Brittany Renner situation. You all said that she's not a predator. And then we made the point that, if it was something ongoing, then she would probably be a predator. And so this gentleman, Christian, says, his name here is Penn Wright. I believe his last name is Christian. And he asked, well, are you a predator only is a predator only defined a predator after assaulting 2 or more people?
No, that's not what I was saying at all. The point that I was making is that somebody getting into it, like looking at her situation and the fact that she met him when she was 19 and she was 26, I don't automatically look at that as this crazy thing. I wouldn't look at it as crazy if it was a 26-year-old man and a 19-year-old. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, they're so incompatible. I wouldn't think that was a predatory situation. What I was saying is, so I wouldn't think that. But what I said is, you can say that she's doing that intentionally or going after younger men. Like, she's older now, for one thing. If she consistently, like with the post that that she put trolling, what I was saying is, if she wasn't just trolling and she actually meant it, like she's literally at the college looking for 18-year-old boys as a 30-year-old woman, then yeah, that's a pattern of behavior. But I can't just say that she's a predator because when she was 26, she got with a 19-year-old and they had a 3-4 year relationship and had a baby together, and that make her a predator. So no, I don't think she assaulted anybody in the first place. But I think now, being 30 and being at colleges scouting 18-year-olds, then yeah, I would say that she got issues. So then you would have to look back at the first time when she was 26 and the boy was 19 and say maybe she was scouting out of him because he was 19 on purpose, because she keeps going after these younger boys even as she gets older. So that's what I meant. I wasn't saying like, oh, it's only assault if they keep doing it. Like, I don't think it was assault with PJ. So
okay.
Right. Yeah.
All righty. Well, that was a question from one of our viewers, one of our frequent viewers. Thank you so much. Pen writes Mentai. I think I said that right. Pen writes mental. Sorry.
Mental,
yeah. Yeah. All right. So thank you, Pen writes mental. I appreciate that question. And thanks, Cannon, for kind of explaining a little bit more about what you meant. All right, ladies, we got to wrap this up. I had a lot of fun. It always ends too soon, but we got to wrap it on up.
Great discussion.
And you guys, for those of you who are watching, please go ahead and subscribe, share our channel. Go on Facebook as well. We're on Facebook, the Ladies Podcast, the Ladies Room Podcast. Find our page, and we also have a group where we can stay connected with everybody who watches the show, and you all can chat about it. Like, it's a whole group chat. I want you all to chat and further the conversations. You all can also drop some suggestions. What are some things you all want to hear about? Let us know. Ladies, one of y'all want to close us out? Last remarks? Some takeaways?
My last remarks are: don't overthink green flags. Don't always look for red flags. Build your personal awareness of your red flags, and I think you'll be okay. Build awareness. Be aware of what's going on in your life, and then when you meet someone, your awareness will grow, and you'll be able to decipher and discern if this person is for you or not. Those are my final thoughts.
Agreed.
All right. All right, everybody. Love y'all. Have a great night.
Good night.
See you next Tuesday. Don't forget, 7:00.
See y'all.
All right. Bye.